Welcome everybody to the webinar using SmartURLs for tracking influencer marketing and off-site content. We have quite a decent collection of folks on the line today, so thanks for taking time out of your busy day to join us. Let me just fast forward here to the next slide. As I mentioned, we have with us here today Warren Whitlock. And if you have not met Warren before, you know, your life is not quite complete. Warren's really quite an awesome character in the digital marketing world, and we're really happy that he's actually an influencer for gShift. And so Warren is a B2B influencer, keynote speaker, author, digital marketing consultant. He has a massive following on Twitter. If you aren't following him, you really ought to be. And he also runs his own company out of Vegas, and he is the chairperson and leader of that company called Vegas Influence. So welcome, Warren. Really great to have you here today. And
it's great to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And one of the things you should know about Warren is that he wrote the first book ever on Twitter called The Twitter Revolution. And if you haven't read it, you really ought to consider it for some bedtime reading. And then there's me. I'm Krista. Many of you on the call here have probably been on some of my webinars before. As you know, I'm very passionate about the digital marketing industry. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at gShift. My DNA is very much everything digital, from SEO to content to social. I do a lot of speaking and writing, and I think you probably know that I'm very passionate about SEMPO, Search Engine Marketing Professionals Organization, which I think is a really great organization for standardization of digital marketing practices for digital consultants. So that's my plug for SEMPO. We're going to take up about 30 to 40 minutes of your time here today, and hopefully you can walk away having learned one or two new things. And so the agenda here today, we're going to cover off some industry trends throughout the webinar. We're going to talk about the importance of on-site content and off-site content and analytics. We're going to talk about influencer marketing and influencer analytics, and hopefully you'll learn some new things there. We're going to talk about the concept of SmartURLs and contextuals. And so we're excited about that. And then we're going to bring it all together and talk about challenges and solutions for tracking it all. Now, we're going to be doing some polls throughout the webinar, and we're going to publish the poll results at the end in the Q&A section, so you'll get to see your responses and how you compare to the rest of the folks on the call here today. And then feel free to tweet. Warren's Twitter handle, mine, and gShift Labs are at the bottom of the screen throughout the presentation, so hopefully you'll give us some tweets. And so just to get started, and really why gShift is hosting this webinar today, and really why we have the sort of the right to talk about all of this stuff, is we really play, and our platform plays at this data intersection of content marketing, influencer marketing, and SEO. And we call this content performance analytics. And you know, it's really now all about how the brand needs to be discovered in search and social at the content level, and the role that social media and social influencers play on content discoverability. And then on the flip side of that, you have your customers, if you're an agency or if you're the brand yourself. You know, we're demanding these measured results of our content marketing investment, and where am I getting engagement, and who is engaging with my content, and where are they engaging with it, and when are they engaging with it. And so you have technologies like gShift that have the data and the processing power to help marketers figure this stuff out. And so that with all of that in mind, gShift does a lot of thinking and writing about trends in the industry. And one of the things that we're noticing that'll be a common theme today, of course, is content, influencer marketing, content distribution, and content amplification. And so you've probably seen this before, but it's really, really the cornerstone of all of this. And that's, you know, it doesn't matter what digital marketing technique you're using, paid, owned, or earned. The most important opportunity is content, and it's really at the core of any digital marketing tactic, whether it's SEO or social or influencer marketing or traditional ads. You need a really strong content marketing strategy to drive the messaging for your clients and for your prospects, and get your brand discovered at the right time in the right place. And this graphic here is really the holy grail for the digital marketer. And I love talking about this. I could do an entire presentation just on this one image. And it really talks to, you know, over on the left-hand side, all of this data that's available from all of these different channels in search and social and beyond, and using that data in the digital marketing process to make the right decisions about what keywords to build into and to target within your content writing, within your media buys. It's really data that drives the keywords that then creates the optimized content and optimized messaging to get in front of your target audience and to really resonate with them. And now you have all this social stuff, right? And we really look at the social channels as the way to amplify and distribute your content marketing investment into the social sphere to get it in front of the eyes of the audience that you're trying to reach. And then now you have these amplification possibilities, right? And so these influencers who can really help to amplify your message and your brand and get your messaging into new audiences. Through the social channels and by finding those influencers. And then on the right-hand side of the image is measuring through to conversion. And this is the holy grail, right? As a digital marketing team, I want to know which piece of content drove the engagement, which influencer helped to drive that engagement, and that ultimately converted into a purchase. Right? And then how do I repeat that over and over again? And so again, the holy grail, the complete end-to-end solution, but really the focus today is understanding how influencers and offsite content can help drive that engagement. And so, Lauren, I'm interested in hearing some words from you about what you recommend to the audience today about finding influence. Over to you.
Great. Good. I like to look at, I really love that graph you have, because I was, looking as you were speaking and going like, this represents so many things I've seen before, and you can get very, very defined as to what goes in which steps. But I like to talk about how everyone has influence and define what influence really is, so we get on the same page about that. And I like to use this picture because everyone that's even lived with a child, and certainly every parent knows that you can get a lot of people have influence without even knowing that they have it. And so every kid has influence. Every one of us has influence on each other. And I'm hoping as I speak today, you're going to change some of the things you're doing. Why be here if we're not looking to change, to grow, to get better? And so we'll start off with the idea that everybody has influence. Then it's just a question of who are the influencers, who are the ones you want to meet. And influence is the ability to get someone to change how they're acting, how they're thinking about something. And it's not a sales pitch, it's influence. If you hang around with a person, you're going to become more like them. And so what we're seeking to do is to find people that resonate with our message and then amplify that message. A lot easier than trying to just say, boy, if we buy enough eyeballs, we're going to get it. This is all about finding the people who are inclined to talk about your product in a positive way. We start off by having clear goals, and I think if I have one strength that I can do that I've always found that I always go looking for, what is the goal? What are we trying to do here? When I was asked to be on the webinar, what is the results you want? How can we change people's lives? How can we make things better? And picking that out is important. It's really easy to say, well, we need more sales, more leads, more whatever it is that grows your company's bottom line, more profits. We all want to be rich. It's really easy to have that knee-jerk reaction and everything, but when you think about it, setting up the KPIs that you know are going to make a difference is what's important. So if your KPI or key performance indicator is that you know that every time somebody clicks on your website, it's going to result this much in sales, that could be a weak one because you don't know that some of the traffic is just garbage traffic and some is good. So maybe a better one is every time we have a qualified lead, every time we have a sale made or something like that. Today, setting it for profits, for how many transactions, how many sales you can get on the same day or in the same period is tough because a lot of the influence that happens takes time. My favorite example of that is something I heard the CMO of Mercedes-Benz talk about that if they had to rely on transaction pay-per-click and getting people to run down to the dealer and decide to buy a Mercedes, today they'd have a problem. No, you decide to buy a luxury car or a home or an investment over years of time, and the influence of which brand to choose starts as soon as you get the entrance. I always imagine the idea of I remember things like this happening to me with some friend in high school has access to a Mercedes or a relative in town, and we would with awe about how great this car was, and so 20 years later I'm buying a Mercedes over a Lexus because I had that experience. Toyota has all those years to try to change my mind. Up until today, we've always had traditionally a hard time measuring any of that. And so it's a constant fight between, are we going to get people into a dealership, or are we going to get people to fall in love with the brand? It just seems to be coming up all the time. How can I affect bottom line sales today? And I know working as an entrepreneur, many times they're like, what can I do today to bring in some more sales? It's ever present on your mind. Fortunately, the larger companies get a little bit away from that, sometimes too far. But you at one point you got to come up with that number. Once you have the number, then every other decision is easy. If you know that every click, every registration, every sale is going to come up with a lifetime value for a customer, and you multiply that out and divide it down to whatever it is you're buying, you just instantly know whether something's a good idea. And what we're seeing in this focusing on influencers, the return is so great that it's easy to justify once you figure out that you know what the number is you're going for and start measuring how that happens. And those are the kind of tools that gShift has. So what we don't want to do is try to go with just getting more media, more of the same thing, push, push, push. And instead, we want to build a relationship. We want to be able to find the people that are already talking about. You probably have heard stories of trademark Disney, Target coming to mind. I've know many stories of somebody that has a big name like that and has to go out and, for legal reasons, has to harass the people that are blogging about them. Well, if you've got somebody that's got a blog saying how wonderful you are, of course what you want to do is support them. And it's as simple as you find out what they want and you see that they get it. What we don't know still today is who they're going to talk to, when it's going to happen, and how that's going to affect sales next year. But we're getting closer. Right now, we're talking about how to do it with online content in places that are not on your website, so that you're measuring things other than how many eyeballs you got today and did you make any sales. Next slide. Okay. And so my method is to start up by getting a goal, knowing what that is, and then setting up the relationships with the top influencers. There's many tools out there that can help get the top influencers, and when you meet them, you know that when somebody speaks, something happens. That's the kind of person you want. It's not the follower count. It's not the demographics. It's not who the person is. It's what are their connections. And the network effect takes over. I love the idea of network effect thinking about the equipment. So I love the handshake in front of the equipment. So my favorite slide. And I didn't want to clutter it up with words because I just like the idea. The network is all connected. We all can talk to each other. There are billions of people that are online. A couple of billion of them with broadband access now, and the rest of the world, actually, even if you're selling something in Nairobi, there is somebody with a mobile phone and text and can affect getting your message out. But today there are so many more people that are talking to each other online, conversations that you can monitor and expand on and incentivize, that once you empower the people that are out there, the messages start to take off by themselves if you can keep track of something. Next slide. So let's talk about some things that are going to empower it. And this is my takeaway slide, the one with lots of text, and these are the important things to be doing. Most of the good conversation is going to be off-site, if not offline. And today we know we can take care of the ones that are online. Every place that you have somebody talking about you should be monitoring. And again, ranking. Everyone has some influence, but find the ones that do it, that do that best. And a study from years ago said that there's a 1:990 ratio. 1% of the people are producing content. 9% of the people are talking about it, and 90% are watching. What we don't see today still is when somebody just is watching that and getting the idea they're going to need this the next time they go shopping. That we're not quite measuring yet. If we really wanted to measure eyeballs, that's what we'd be measuring. But today what we find is that the top 10% of any audience is doing 10 or 100 times as much connection and sharing and getting a message spread. So when you figure out how to tap into what is there, you're golden. Two things you need. One is you need to do the research and find and listen for those people. Two, you need to track what's going on. Every time you can share a link or embed a code or do anything in any of the content that they're sharing, then that's going to spread when they spread the message. And that means you give them content that they want in a format they're looking for. Some people just want to know, where to send their friends if they're interested in it, or where to get the incentive. Where's the free hat if they share this? And other people actually make a business of it. We don't want to get, we don't want to be saying, I will pay you to say nice things about me, because that kind of endorsement has legal trouble. But as long as you help somebody do whatever they want, you let them produce the content, pay them for the content. There are thousands and thousands of podcasts and millions of blogs that are unsponsored, and somebody has a passion and they're talking about something. So there's no end to it, but we usually start with who are the most influential people and who are the powerful people that have the largest network. And then you just have to be open to the idea that it's going to spread because of the network effect. So I sum it up by saying that one person can affect many people. You don't know which one of those is going to happen, so you start with the best guess, you move from there. And that one, you never know when that one thing you say is going to make a large amount of difference. I'm using the contextual URLs now, and SmartURLs, and now I know that when I give somebody a URL and they share it, I know what happens. So that's why I'm suggesting that you listen to the rest of what we got to talk about.
Awesome. Thank you, Warren. That was very insightful. And so to add to what Warren was chatting about with the one-to-one, brands today really need to be able to talk to their prospects on a one-on-one basis. And you've heard the term one-to-one marketing. And the reason why this is happening is a lot of behavioral changes with your prospects and with your customers that are really being driven by two things, by social media and by mobile. And those two things together create these, you've probably heard the term micro moments, right? And people wanting to interact with your brand at any time of day in any channel. And that's really complicated things for digital marketers. This graphic in front of you now, down in the bottom left-hand corner, way back in 2010, things are really easy. It's like people go to your website, they get informed, they convert. That's it. But now in the upper right-hand corner and upper left-hand corner, you have all of this off-site stuff happening, right? Things that you can't necessarily control, and you don't necessarily know when somebody's engaging with your branded content off-site. And that's where a lot of the gShift technology comes in. And so the trend that we're seeing, and I talk with a lot of digital marketers and a lot of agencies, and they will confirm this, is that somebody comes to your website, they learn about your brand, they come to your website, check you out, then they go away, and then they come back to your website when they're ready to buy. So what did they do in the in-between time? Well, they informed themselves off of your website. And the big trend that's happening now, and the stat around it, is that 67% of your customers' digital interaction or your prospects' digital interaction with your brand content is happening off of your website. So primarily in the social channels. And because of that, you're lacking the analytical insight into that engagement, right? Because, and I think it's my next slide, so I'll save that thought. But 67% of the brand content or brand interaction is happening off the site, and you don't have insight into that. And so this is the reality of off-site content, right? You know, you have all of these web presence points, and your prospects and customers are, you know, booting around the internet, informing themselves about your brand, and you really don't know the path that they're taking. But there are some technologies that that can help you with that. And so this is all being driven, as I mentioned, one of the big factors in all of this is mobile. And I love this slide. Nikola Tesla, 1909, so like 106 years ago, he predicted this. So we've had 106 years to get ready for this whole mobile wave. And I mean, not the social part, but, you know, he's saying, you know, it will soon be possible to transmit wireless messages around the world so simply that any individual can carry and operate his own or her own apparatus. And that's exactly what's happening. And it's really driving this off-site engagement and lack of insight into really what is transpiring in terms of interaction and engagement with your brand content. So we have a first poll question here, and Crystal on my team here is going to run that poll. And so the first poll question is, do you know what percentage of your prospects' interactions with your brand's content take place offsite? So it's a yes or no or unsure. So yes, I know the percentage and it's big, or no, I have no idea what that percentage is of my prospects' interaction. So go ahead and I guess I can, yeah, the poll's in progress. Go ahead and submit your responses, and we're going to share all of this at the end so you'll get to see how you compare to other folks on the call. And Crystal, I will let you finish that up when you see lots of responses come in. And so what you need to know, we had all kinds of technical difficulties with this webinar. It was pretty fun to see us all in action. Warren's in Vegas, I'm in New York, and Crystal's in Toronto. So it was a memorable prep time. All right. Okay, so Crystal has ended that poll, and there we go. And so we'll share that with you at the end. And so with all this complication, right, and there's all kinds of new tactics being introduced into digital marketing. And we're not talking about influencer marketing and offsite analytics. And I don't know if you've ever given that any thought, but you're probably thinking, oh, geez, now I have to think about that. When I do a lot of thinking and writing and understanding of what really this whole digital marketing thing is about, right? And how do you make decisions that best impact the brand? And this is the definition that I've come up with. So regardless of whether you're doing, you know, SEO or social or paid search or native ads or influencer marketing, it's really about the long-term process of enhancing both the brand's web presence asset and the opportunity for discoverability in search and social throughout the prospect's buying cycle and across any device. So if you take that definition and insert it as a major driver into your digital strategies, and then apply influencer marketing to it, and apply SEO, and apply social, then you'll be doing the right thing for the brand in the long run, right? So there's no quick wins, and there's no quick fixes to any of this stuff. So thought I would share that that definition with you. And so
well, there are a few quick wins that happen, but one of the problems we've had is that we try to go looking for that quick win rather than looking for how to build a business and a brand. As you know, my reflection on reading your quote there, it's an excellent summation of what I say, is that, you know, most of the people that are going to buy from you next year or the year after have never even heard of you yet.
That's right. That's right. I totally agree. And with that definition in mind and the long-term process of discoverability, that's how you're going to create that one-to-one marketing and the right messaging at the right time for your target audience. It's that long-term investment that you have to make. And many of you have seen this before. gShift sort of lives and dies by it, and our technology is built on it. It's the hierarchy of web presence optimization. But I wanted to draw attention to The second from the top tier, that 20%, that distribution, and that's really where I think marketers ought to be focusing in 2016. You know, a lot of us are creating great content. We have the content engine rolling. We need to focus on distributing that content and amplifying that content in the off-site channels. And that's where you're really going to win, and that's where you're going to increase your digital footprint, which is key. And so the challenges of tracking off-site content, right? And I touched on this. You know, if you're using only an analytics system like Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics, you're only capturing about 33% of the interaction of your brand content. Again, because the other 67% is happening out there. And that's a real problem. And this is where SmartURLs come in, which is really the topic of this webinar. And so SmartURLs allow you to track content and also tag content with gShift's product, so that you can track it in its external environment and you can understand the analytics and the engagement around that. And at a very, very detailed level, you can also create conversion pathways and connect content, external content together so that you can get insight into the prospects that are engaging with your content that lives off of your website. And SmartURLs are also the first step towards this concept that we have called influencer analytics. And that's probably a new term for many of you. And if there's one thing that I want you to take away today, it's the concept of influencer analytics. And so gShift's product, Contextuals, are what we call the world's smartest URL. And so this technology gives you the ability, you the digital marketer, the ability to measure and optimize owned and earned channels, and what we say is on-site, off-site, and even offline, okay? And so contextuals are fairly advanced and allow you to, so think of it as Bitly but on steroids. And I also say steroids and chocolate-covered espresso beans. And so you can have your own branded vanity short URL for your brand. I think it's silly that we use other brands' short URLs to promote our own content. I just think that that's silly. We need to have our own branded short URL. You get near real-time content performance by channel, so you can see in the software people interacting with your brand content across the individual channels, and it's really quite fun to just sit and watch people engage with your web presence. We have really awesome long-term data storage, which is key to running successful campaigns. And I look at contextuals, and the reason why I love them so much is that it's, in my mind, the true connector between the digital tactics of SEO, social media, and content marketing, and the ability to report on the discoverability and engagement of brand content at that content level in both search and social. And then, as I mentioned before, the analytics. And so I put this slide in, but I'm not going to talk about it a lot. The point that I wanted to make is that influencer marketing is driving a lot of this offsite content and engagement. And that's really the key, the connector here between offsite content and influencer marketing, is that the influencer marketing is driving the offsite engagement. And so we have another poll here, poll question number 2. Is influencer marketing part of your digital marketing mix today? Yes or no? And just to let everybody know, we have over 100 people on the line today, so we should have some pretty good, good survey results. Awesome, and we'll just let that run a little bit longer, and I thank you for your participation in that poll. And I just have a handful of more slides, and then we'll move to Q&A, so I appreciate your time. Influencer marketing as a digital marketing tactic or technique is starting to become more and more relevant in the whole digital marketing mix. And so this is data from Thomason, and they're saying that 22% of marketers say influencer marketing is their most cost-effective customer acquisition channel. And email marketing, it's tied with email marketing. So you really need to think about how you can use influencer marketing in your customer acquisition. And just quickly, I took this picture a couple of weeks ago. I did a presentation in Toronto, and I came up out of the subway, and I saw this billboard It's an example of influencer marketing. And there's Jennifer Aniston, and she's the influencer for this smart water. And so she's influencing, I guess me to, maybe if I drink some smart water, I'll look like Jennifer Aniston. Not that I want to look like Jennifer Aniston. I'm quite happy with how I look. But my point here is influencer marketing is not new, but it is new to digital. And I can hear Warren laughing. And there's a real opportunity to tie together even SEO into influencer marketing, right? So using SEO keywords that matter to your brand and people are engaging with and people are searching on, and using those keywords to find influencers. And I'll give you an example of that if I can advance my slide. Understanding audience profiles by demographics is another big thing. We talk about local influencer marketing a lot more these days, where, Jennifer Aniston, yeah, she's a Hollywood star. We don't really care about her. We care about her, but we don't. Not for our own digital marketing. And so it's about using technologies that are available to find a local influencer for your brand. And so if you're a restaurant at a certain intersection in New York City, who are the influencers within that area who can help amplify your message? You can also find out who's talking about smart water and related topics and use them as influencers. And for me, it's about finding lesser known influencers. So it's about developing your audience. And yes, Jennifer Aniston is an influencer and Warren Whitlock is an influencer. But who are the lesser known influencers who happen to have the target audience that matches your target audience? And how do you get to know who they are and get them to amplify your content? And here's a really neat stat. Yes, Warren, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. We've done some things with, like a national brand that has, 1,000 outlets or whatever. And, and my first question I ask is, doesn't every one of your locations have 10 best customers? And that may be as simple as asking the manager who are the best customers. And it might be somebody like we used to talk about the PTA meeting. We know the president of the PTA is a well-connected person, but they may not be the best influencer in the audience. Somebody in that group is out telling everybody what to do. And when you get down to knowing a local franchise and the local group, you can find out who those people are. It may have nothing to do with keywords or what size their network is online or anything. It's easy to find that. The reason I talk about that is when you come back to looking at influencing for anything, it's the same thing. We just don't see the people like we would if they were walking in a local store. So
that's right. That's
right. You go back telling us how cost effective it is.
So I agree with everything you're saying, and yes, it's very cost effective. So companies make $6.50 for every $1 spent on influencer marketing, and that's some data from Thomason as well. So some clear reasons why you should be doing analytics. And I don't know if you saw the blog post that gShift published last week around the concept of dumb and dumber. And by no means do I want to insult anybody, especially any influencers on the call, but I really think that there's a gap between the influencers and the brands. And it has to do with analytics. Nobody's using influencer analytics to figure out, the brands aren't using influencer analytics to figure out if the influencers are actually effective, actually driving engagement and conversion. And the influencers aren't using it to prove that they've driven engagement and conversion. And so there's a real opportunity to use influencer analytics to fill that gap and to prove out both sides of the equation. And so it's a fun blog post. It's on our site. If you just type in gShift it /D&D, you'll find it. And we had a lot of fun writing it. And so here's how you identify influencers. And here's how gShift found Warren Whitlock. And so there's technology that gShift happens to have access to. And we can go in and we know the keywords that matter to our brand. And we know the keywords that people, when they search on and they get onto our site, they buy from us. So I want to find influencers with those same keywords. And so you go into the technology, you type in the keyword, you find influencers. It returned Warren Whitlock. You can get a sense of who Warren is. And, so yeah, he has, something like 211,000 followers on Twitter, and you can see what he talks about. So use technology to find the big influencers, but also the lesser known influencers in your local market. So that's really, really important. So poll question number 3, do you plan on adding influencer marketing to your online efforts in 2016? And maybe, Warren, as people are filling that out, you can just add any comments about our Dumb and Dumber post and influencer analytics.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I try hard not to ever call somebody dumb. I know about that. I was asked to write about whether I wanted to write the Twitter for Dummies book, and I go, no, I just can't be associated with that. But no, it's amazing how often I talk to people, and someone who's in a marketing department telling me how things have to be. And and then I mentioned something like, "How long have you been with the company?" And they go, "Well, I'm coming up on a full year now." And I'm thinking, like, I've been a customer of your company for 10 years. Why are you trying to tell me you know more about everything than? And that's a typical myopia we all have. I have it all the time, thinking that I know everything about everything, and it's not true. Trust your influence.
Very well said. Very well said. All right, so that poll's done, and just a couple more slides, and then into the Q&A. And I think, oh, there we go. I had to get control. And so here's some of the analytics that you can get if you build out a content campaign using contextuals. You can see engagement by content campaign across channels, and this is real-time data. And something that a lot of folks don't know about even Google Analytics, right, is that it's not your full data set. It's actually a subset of your data set, so you're not really getting the full picture. And so our data is real-time, on-site and off-site, and it's pretty deep data. And just some more influencer analytics screenshots by channel. You can see which channel is most effective at a certain time of day in a certain country, right? All really important information to understand so that you can take the successes and build on them based on the data. You can take the weaknesses of the data and understand where your campaign isn't as strong and maybe try to improve it. So some really, really important data there. And the final poll question is, we're curious to know if you're using SmartURLs or some kind of link shortening service for your offsite content now. So are you indeed, do you have this whole offsite analytics thing totally licked? You're good to go, problem solved. So are you using SmartURLs for offsite content now? And we'll just let that go. And we're also going to move into questions. So as you finish off your poll question, your poll response, I'll just open up the questions window and I'll start to look at some questions. And then Crystal, if you want to as well start to publish those, we can share the results with the folks on the call. So there's a question here. Does this information have bearing on services business, or is it mostly for saleable products? So services versus products. My response to that is, yeah, all businesses. All businesses who are doing social media, which should be all businesses, this information is applicable regardless of whether or not you're selling services or a product. Absolutely.
Well, actually, relationships are at least as important in services. My favorite example of that one is if I land in a town I've not been there before, I'm liable to ask the taxi driver for a recommendation for something more than, or the concierge at the hotel, more than go look in the phone book or even look it up online. I want a human to be involved with that as much. So everything we're talking about works more for services than for products, if anything.
Yeah, totally agreed. So here's the results of the first poll. So approximately 90% of you do not know what percentage of your prospects' interaction take place offsite. And I think that's what we were expecting to see, that there's only a small percentage, and you're probably using some kind of analytics, offsite analytics like we're talking about to track that. So, for 2016, maybe a goal is to figure out how to gain more insight into that. So good. Yes, Warren.
Yeah, I know I am a Google fanboy, use analytics all the time and work with people that are extremely good at it. And it's constantly not quite enough data and it's not in the right place. They're wonderful at making the, advancements and changes in it. But you kind of get this underlying feeling that it's Google's job to convince you how well your advertising is working. And they track AdWords better than non-AdWords, and they track paid better than organic as far as getting the right keyword and source in there. And really, we need something that goes beyond that, because if you're trusting just like how much web traffic you got, you're not getting the right answer. Because I can go out and buy fake web traffic really easy if I wanted to. I don't need that. It's not going to help me at all. Or I can go run a contest and get a lot of tire kickers come into the website. But if I really want to impact sales and revenue and growth on a long term, you got to be getting deeper than that. So it's only 90% of you, and you guys are probably way above average. 10% is probably high.
Yeah, I agree. So we had a question.
Getting started on this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of questions. Can you send us this PowerPoint? This PowerPoint will be made available on SlideShare, and we'll be following up after this. So yes, you will have access to the content after this. There'll also be a blog post that's written. Maybe we can publish another poll. And there's a question here. What tool would you recommend for finding influencers in your niche? So there are a handful of different tools and platforms that can help you with that. It really depends on what your niche is. One of the tools, and I'm sorry, I have to cough. One of the tools that we really like is a company called InNetwork. And that's whose screenshot you saw in our deck today when I showed the Warren profile. And the reason why we like InNetwork is the influences are found programmatically across all social channels, so not just one social channel. So you get a really good sense if they're an influencer across all channels, as well as they are humanly vetted, which I think is really important. So, for Warren's profile to be there, a human being actually confirmed that Warren's a human. He is indeed influential in this space. So it's humanly vetted, which is one of the reasons why we really like it. Is influencer marketing part of your digital marketing mix today? 49% said yes, and 51% said no. So that's a real split, and it's a lot higher than I thought it was going to be for the yeses. So congratulations, folks. And I think that there's a real opportunity to continue. Now it's 1:45, and we'll be publishing, if your question did not get answered, we'll be publishing Q&As as well through the blog. And I wanted to make sure that we do our recap in case some of you have to jump off. So if you can put my summary, there we go. We just had some summary points quickly from me and then Warren, but we will continue to publish the posts as well. So things I really want you to focus on for 2016, based on the content that we presented here today, is the concept of distribution and amplification of your existing content. Get it out there, get it into the hands of influential people, and get it in so that it can get in front of your target audience in a much more effective way. Consider the concept of offsite analytics to gain better insight into exactly who, when, where your content is being engaged offsite. And obviously influencer marketing and finding the lesser known influencers who have the target audience that matches yours. And so, Warren, if you have any final remarks or comments, that would be wonderful.
I like to emphasize I'm the futurist and big picture guy, so I emphasize that this is changing rapidly and going to get more. I think if we hold this same webinar a year from now, it's going to be far above 10% that say they know something about how much offsite discussion they're getting. We're going to have better tools. It's going to be more of this. So you're at a point right now to take some action and do something and really fundamentally change the way you do things, and thereby making it a lot easier to reach the people that are anxious to buy and the people that are anxiously to talk about you, where you don't even have to worry so much about what the sale is going to be. You just know that if you do more of this, it's going to happen. As you start tracking and see that what you do gets the results, you're going to get to a point where you can just rely on that. And then as the new tools come out, you're at the front instead of reacting to what your competitor is doing and trying to justify budget for something that your competitors come in and just wiped out your market. And you don't want to get in that position. So it's perfect time. 2016 is going to be more analytics, more people talking about big data and things they can do. But the idea is, can you set up a simple path that's going to get you your goal, and then go ahead and do everything you can to support that and support the people that do support it. Remember that slide with the influencer marketing slide? I love that diagram, because most of the people are in the people you don't know. They're the people that your influencers are talking to, and that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And we'll just answer some more questions here. There's one here from Dan. And you've totally nailed a big topic. So Dan's question is, how can SmartURLs and influencer marketing as we presented here, be used together with marketing automation tools such as Pardot. And that's music to my ears. I'm glad you are asking those types of questions. And so there's definitely integration opportunities for SmartURLs and particularly contextuals within lead nurturing systems like Pardot, like Marketo, like Eloqua. And it is indeed something that is on gShift's product roadmap, where there's all this interaction happening off-site that affects lead scoring. And we call this the dark sales funnel. And more marketers are experiencing this dark sales funnel, and particularly negatively impacting their lead scoring. And so contextuals can be used in conjunction with the lead nurturing systems to provide insight into that engagement happening offsite, which then fires back into the lead scoring engine to give you a proper lead scoring results for your lead generation and lead nurturing purposes. So that's really advanced stuff, but it's a big known gap in the sales and marketing organization.
Right, and we're definitely going forward with it. In direct marketing, in CRM systems I use and setting up a couple of new ones right now, we are looking at the sale being the start of a relationship with somebody, which is how sales, customer service and fulfillment and all those things have always looked at it. But then, of course, tying those two things together. So somebody that got an idea to buy, click for some information, a year later becomes a prospect, goes through that process. It's everything we've talked about today. And then once they decide to buy something, how long is that relationship going to be? What can you do to increase the lifetime value? And one of the things we used to say when I was in sales, well, we won't go back to how far long ago that was, but before most of you were born, we actually always said that it was a lot easier to go after your current customers to grow a business than to try to find new ones. The effort was probably 6 times, and I've even seen some studies say 9 times as much to get a new customer. So today we're talking about getting new customers and growth in that way, but it certainly applies, the same technology applies as if you're sending a newsletter out to your best customers. You still want to know what they're interested in. You still want to take care of them. You still want to find the influencers that are in your customers. So we're scratching the surface of what's possible in making a richer experience for every customer that passes through.
Yep, absolutely. Very well said. I have a question here from Aaron, and Aaron is asking, how much does gShift cost? Like the whole company?
I didn't know you were for sale. Are you announcing something?
No, we are not. So, Aaron, the answer is there's variable pricing depending on the number of web presences you need to track, the number of short URLs, the amount of content. So please just shoot an email to sales@gshiftlabs.com or direct to me, and we will have a conversation with you. But I guarantee you it doesn't break the bank. And there's a lot of efficiencies and productivity that can be gained through reporting and data. Then you can benefit from. And so
and you can measure it, then you're going to know that it's got a good ROI. So if I'm getting a good ROI on something, I want it to be expensive.
Yeah, there you go.
because it means I'm making even more.
There you go. So. All right, we're going to respect everybody's day and time, and we're done. This was we have lots of folks who stayed on right till the end, so thank you very much for that. Email in with any questions. You'll get a follow-up with the actual webinar content and a blog post. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and all the best to your digital marketing strategies.